welcome to Movie Review 30, Monsterverse Edition.
Or you mean Monster Madness?
No, that's a massacre. For this segment, we will be looking over every single installment of the Monsterverse in order.
For those who don't know, the Monsterverse features two of the most iconic monsters of all time, Godzilla and King Kong.
Thus far. We don't know how many more they'll put in, but we'll find out as it goes along. The first one in the installment is Godzilla 2014.
Directed by Gareth Edwards. And the same guy who also directed Rogue One.
This movie has somewhat of a polarizing opinion. Some like it, others not so much due to the lack of fan service. Story is that there is a mystery. Well, how do I say this? Story is there is a mistake. There are two beings known as the Mutos
that are causing havoc and are about to mate with each other. And the only way to stop those giant monsters is with another giant monster, and that monster being
Godzilla. And this is all told through the point of view of a soldier by the name of Ford Brody, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yes, but which we'll be getting to him just in a few minutes. So, and also, now people are wondering how we feel about this movie. Well, let's begin.
Well, first time we saw it in theaters back in 2014, we actually liked it, but the more we saw it, the more I actually kind of liked it. I thought it was a good way to see Godzilla in a different light. I mean, granted, we've seen Godzilla as a good guy multiple times before, but like the way it's presented, it kind of gives you something different, and I can admire it for it. Hey, it's better than the anime trilogy any day.
And definitely, and 2014's Godzilla is, to me, would be better than Fan Force Stick.
Yeah. And
now, okay, without further delay, let's begin. And
also, this goes without saying, spoiler alert.
Yep. So the film opens up with a very, very creative opening sequence.
A sequence of all the paintings of creatures that supposedly from mythology to give you the hint that these creatures existed and disappeared from the sands of time.
And then the last shot where the military used the missile to fight one monster being Godzilla, which I'm sure it probably didn't work.
Well, nuclear missiles, that is, because it shows in the Monsterverse's lore that the nuclear bombing tests weren't actually tests. They were actually trying to kill Godzilla.
And then the explosion comes right to the camera and then cuts to white, and we see a little bit of ashes, and
that transitions into a mountain beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, you said you love that sequence. It's like something out of a comic book.
Yeah,
but it also showed its title. But okay, go on. Because of title.
Thank you. And it certainly beats Daddy Issues the movie, or the 2003 Hulk movie, as the common person would call it.
Anyway, we start off with this flying helicopter that has Monarch and its logo on it, meaning Dr. Serizawa, played by Ken Watanabe, and
Lindsey Graham. No, not Lindsey Graham. Dr. Graham. That's all I can remember. Sorry, everyone.
Sorry, we can't remember Serizawa's assistant's name, so please let us know in the comments section below.
Yeah.
So they head down to this
to this burial site, basically, which has two parasitic spores, which will be important for later.
Yeah. So they go to the mines to find these two parasitic spores, one that's already hatched and one that's still
dormant.
And we'll get to that dormant one later. And also they found this giant skeleton. And go on.
Well, in the prequel comic for Godzilla King of the Monsters, that is Dagon, Godzilla's ancestor, who died at the hands of Muto Prime after being impregnated by it.
So, and then they found this home where the hatched one managed to get out very quickly, and now we get to the Genjiro city in Japan, where we meet our main character, who's a young boy, Ford Brody.
Who was played by C.J. Adams of The Odd Life of Timothy Green fame. We don't mention that.
Yeah, and before he heads out of his room, we see this little Japanese poster, which is, I think it's sort of like a nod to the old Godzilla posters. Don't you think so?
Yes, and not to mention also using the original concept designs for the Mutos, which was in the art of Godzilla.
Yep. And we see with Bryan Cranston's character named Joe Brody, who is having some like difficulty of what's going on with this whole earthquake thing. And Ford and his mother try to like cheer up about this whole...
Yeah.
And they remind him it's his birthday, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, I really do not want that to happen to me. I get so preoccupied with my work that I forget I'm a year older.
Well, right now that Joe Bryan and his wife are at work trying to figure out this whole situation, but then...
Then disaster strikes as the power plant is on the verge of collapsing.
Yeah, it was all shaking like this. Sorry.
That's alright. And resulting in the death of Joe Brody's wife.
Who was trying to escape from this whole steam stuff and...
Radiation.
And Bryan Cranston had no choice, and I was like, no!
Yep.
And the scene they share one last time, oh, it actually really hurt.
And especially since that this happened on his birthday, definitely not his best day.
I agree. So he managed to escape with his... So the power plant's starting to collapse, caused by this something very mysterious.
Which we will get into later.
And then Fort Worth sees all of this, and then cuts to 15 years later. You know, sort of like Avengers Endgame, when Thor cut Thanos' head off.
Yep.
Well, yeah, again, 15 years later, Ford is now a grown adult, and
he's married. He's married to Elle Brody, played by Elizabeth Olsen, and has a son, Sam Brody, played by Carson Bold.
And I'm so happy that Ford moved on, like, try to have a normal, happy life with this new family. And,
yeah.
And yeah, what was it you said to me about that the two are played by the same actors that would play Marvel characters?
Yeah, in Avengers Age of Ultron, I don't know if any of you know this, but they would later play the twins. Siblings, no less.
God, I could see a fan art about this awkward moment.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one took advantage of that.
Oh, anyway, after having a little nice reunion with his family, he gets a call.
That his father was arrested once again for trespassing.
So it cuts to them trying to comfort his father, trying to say, okay, Dad, I think it's time we should try to move on of this whole tragedy. I know my mother's death was tragic, but I managed to move on, and so should you. But Joe Brody was like... He
didn't listen, and insisted that his son come with him, which he inclines.
Yeah, he talks about after this, and there was a nice shot of him looking at his reflection in the window.
Yeah, the cinematography, you gotta give credit for Gareth Edwards, given that he's great at cinematography.
Yeah, especially with Rogue One as well.
Yep. In fact, Godzilla was pretty much the one that gave him the directing job for Rogue One, so you gotta give him props for that.
So anyway, they go back to the abandoned city to try to make sure wear gas masks to make sure they don't get
infected with radiation, but it turns out the air is clean.
And they see two dogs, and yeah, air is clean.
Ironic given Chernobyl's radioactive as hell, but there's still wildlife there.
Anyway, they go back to their old home, and there's a little Easter egg that's a reference to Mothra. The little...
called Dad's Moth, and it says Monarch, which would later become Mothra. Oh. And ironic given that in the sequel, she would make an appearance.
Yeah, which we'll get to King of the Monsters soon, so wait for that. So anyway, Joe Boy found all of his old discs, and they make their depart, but then they see the Monarch, what they're doing, but then they get caught.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
They could have killed them, but they arrested them. So, again, they're not savages.
Yeah. So during an interrogation, Joe Brody's basically saying, I know what's actually happening here. Don't stop fucking lying to us.
Yeah, it's like, it wasn't an earthquake, it wasn't a typhoon. What's really happening that you're hiding something out there? and it's gonna send us back to the Stone Age.
And ironically, around this time, the thing that they're referring to is a cocooned being.
Yes, and the thing they're containing is a giant cocoon, and in case if it hatches, they're gonna try to kill by pushing a button, which they did was about to, but then
it's far too late as it wake up, overdose on an ungodly amount of radiation, and starts going on a killing spree.
Yeah, and they call this creature Muto.
Massive, unidentified terrestrial organism.
That thing wrecks shit, and few people get killed, and heck, it actually gets Joe Brody injured through that. Yikes.
And to the point that he dies.
Which is unfortunate, because everyone thought he was going to be the main character.
Honestly, upon researching that, looking this up fanatically, I kind of knew that Joe Brody wasn't going to be the main protagonist. I knew it was going to be Ford, his son Ford, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. And even Gareth Edwards clearly said that this was going to be through the point of view of a soldier.
You know, if you want a movie where Bryan Cranston is the main character, then see him in Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
Anyway, after Joe Brody's death, and Ford Brody does somewhat mourn for his dead father, but
Sarazawa and his apprentice Graham basically tell him,
what the hell's going on?
Yep.
And they show him like old footage of this creature finding radiation, and then they show him about this other monster, which is
Godzilla or Godzilla. And what I like about this is that there's a different change, unlike the other incarnations where he was just a dinosaur that was mutated by radiation. He was always the form that he was, but he was basically the scientific equivalent of a god.
Yeah, you know.
In fact, a lot of people complained about it, saying, I don't like the fact that Godzilla's worshipped as a god, yet you're perfectly fine with, say, Mothra or Kong being worshipped as godlike beings.
Seriously, why would you be upset about... How come you're not a fan of the idea of Godzilla being worshipped as a god? I mean, I'm not trying to... We're not trying
to shame you or make fun of you, but we just want to know. Why?
For us, we actually love the way how it's treated.
Yeah, it's a welcome change.
So yeah, after that, Ford would try to make his departure, going back to his family in
Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, Monarch's trying to find the Muto, which is actually hiding at Honolulu at the same place, but also managed to take a submarine. But hey, and the Muto is there as well.
Yep.
But I know we cut with Ford Boy where he's at this monorail train, but then there's this kid who gets accidentally separated from his
parents, so he has to basically stay with them until the kid's back with his parents.
You know, I really think Ford's a really nice guy. I really love his character. You know, people say that he's bland. It's like, come on, just give us Godzilla already.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of it being through the point of view of someone else.
Yeah, I mean, and then meanwhile with the Muto causing more havoc, and then makes a big
an EMP or an electromagnetic pulse, knocking out everything, everything's in sight, even the modern day jet fighters, resulting in them crashing.
Yeah. Joe Brody mentioned that earlier before he died.
Yep.
And I just love how the jets crash down and then boom, boom, and then cuts to people in a beach seeing the big explosion, but then go ahead.
And as the sea levels rise and the power goes out, a growling is heard among the skylines.
Yeah.
And as it slowly, and as his feet slowly move towards the Muto,
whoa,
the camera pans up.
Wait a second. But before that, the tsunami part where everyone runs for it, and then they see Godzilla walk.
Yeah, well,
and then the soldiers shoot at him. I was like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Anywho, as the camera pans up when the two beings meet, we see the character of God incarnate himself, Godzilla.
And then he brings out his mighty roar. And then
we just cut to civilian life. But as much as I do like the film, I can understand some of the complaints. Like just when the fight was about to get good, it just cuts elsewhere and get me annoyed. I completely get that.
Yeah, that build-up was amazing. I just love how it kind of built up to Godzilla.
Yeah.
But then cuts to a different scene. And before that, Godzilla was swimming in the ocean, but then not trying to destroy any of the ships that's right in front of it. He's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
And after that off-screen fight, we cut back to Honolulu in shit.
Yeah.
And the kid managed to reunite with his mom and dad.
And eventually Fort Brody tags along with the military.
Again. Which is... and then we cut back with Serizawa
and the Admiral. Who played the leader in the show, Alphas.
I didn't know that.
And now you know. And knowing half the battle.
And anyway, they mentioned about that hatch dormant, which was the first Muto, but then they talk about the second dormant, and the second one they took it somewhere to Nirvana, and like, no, you didn't.
Yeah, and eventually the cocoon hatched and broke free, and starts attacking Las Vegas.
And the second Muto is actually bigger than the male one, and
is a female,
and it has no wings.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Mutos are really creative monsters, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And they'll probably be my new favorite Godzilla villains.
I don't know, I'm more of a Ghidorah guy, which we'll get into when we see King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
Once again.
But I thought you love the Mutos.
Oh, I love the Mutos, but I love them for different reasons, whereas the Mutos are basically, well, spoiler alert, Romeo and Juliet, where they're just two lovebirds. Ghidorah is basically the embodiment of pure evil.
Again, we'll get to that with King of the Monsters. Anyway, back to Fort Brody with the other military men on this train and try to take this bomb thing.
Yeah.
And Fort Brody try to see if it's safe to clear out. But then they come across the female Muto, and oh boy, that scene was pretty intense, and I was actually a little creeped out.
Oh yeah.
Almost something out of a horror movie. Well, it's not really a horror film, it's more of a sci-fi disaster.
Also, everyone dies except for Ford, who barely escapes with his life.
Yeah, when the train was coming all in flames, they're like, oh crap, run! But his buddy didn't make it out, so he managed to survive. And also, those that a little shot of the female Muto's belly, meaning that she's pregnant.
Yep.
Which is not a good sign.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially when you see the amount of fucking eggs she lays.
And anyway, and then the next morning he's alright and meets with other soldiers. Well, one of them says, "Medic!" But no, he's okay. He didn't get bad injuries. Woo.
Yeah, and speaking of which, on the other side, there are orders to have everyone evacuated to the west side, so Elle and Sam are separated for the time being.
And yes, and as
the buses are moving to the shelters,
and they're at the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Yeah, Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, they're trying to get there. Then they hear a little Godzilla roar,
and that's when he rises up, and that's when everyone goes into a panic.
And I also
as missiles are fired, Godzilla's on the other side, and people are screaming like crazy.
Even the children. And also, I really like that bus driver. Like when he was doing like this.
Yeah, you can notice several nods to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, because Gareth Earl was inspired by Steven Spielberg.
I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Anyway, the soldiers are firing at Godzilla, and he's not attacking, but he does kind of split the Golden Gate Bridge in two.
Well, that's because all the missiles just keep hitting him. They don't kill him, but they are mostly an irritant.
And I noticed a little shot where they shot kind of at his gills. Yes, Godzilla has gills.
Yeah, that's his weak spot, apparently.
And it kind of did hurt.
Yeah.
And after that, then the male Muto comes back and kills one of the...
And destroys an entire ship that's carrying a nuclear missile.
Yeah, and finally meets up with the female Muto, and the way they first see each other, it actually kind of felt kind of touching.
It would be if they weren't trying to kill everybody.
Yeah, it was like this.
Yeah, it would be if, like I said, they weren't trying to kill everyone.
So yeah, the two moves are kind of like Romeo and Juliet. Well, the male Muto goes start wrecking shit again. Well, the female Muto starts digging a hole.
Starts digging a hole at one of the buildings and starts laying her eggs.
And then we come with Ford and his other fellow men. I'm sorry. Trying to make a Halo jump. And so there was a trailer where the ammo was like, gentlemen, you're going to be sent to a Halo jump.
Now, I know none of you have any hands-on experience, but quite frankly, none of us have faced a situation quite like this one before.
It's a shame that scene got cut out, but
Yeah,
but speaking of ammo, he has one more conversation with Sarah Zaro. Where I said, will this Alpha Predator manage to defeat these two monstrosities, or parasites, whatever they are?
And he says, the arrogance of man is thinking nature is in our control, and not the other way around.
Let them fight. And then Ellie Brother sees the Melmuto coming right towards him, but then Godzilla
comes in, and so they have to go into the shelter.
And then they start having a fight, but then cuts away again.
Yeah, I get that.
And,
I really freaking do.
Oh yeah, speaking about that shot, in the trailer where the doors are closing, it was Godzilla roaring, but in the actual movie,
it was Godzilla and male Muto wrecking each other's shit.
And I would say that was a good lie.
Yeah.
Unlike with Percy Jackson, like it was about a freaking car that could shoot guns.
Yeah, I'm still unhappy about that. It's been 10 freaking years.
Anyway, back with Ford at this the ship and on a jet plane.
Yeah, on a jet plane, they basically do the Halo jump.
And I gotta say, the Halo jump is very breathtaking. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And what we heard in the trailers with the song Requiem.
Yeah, that was also in this movie.
Yeah, and I just love the suspense it's giving us, and also I also love the point of view shot where Ford's looking at Godzilla while still finding the male Muto, and then that shot with Godzilla's mouth.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was kind of creepy and intense.
Yep.
And now they all managed to land.
And
they're about to find the source of the missing missile.
Yep.
I don't know if that rhymes. And they come across the female Muto yet again. But then
Godzilla comes in and the actual brawl begins, thank God.
And yeah, when Godzilla made that roar, that was
yeah.
And the Ford and soldier friends go down the hole and see a ton of eggs, Muto eggs, and boy, it actually looked kind of freaky seeing all those eggs.
Yeah, as they extract the bomb, Ford stays behind, well, not to sacrifice his life, but rather to take care of something, because he knows that those eggs hatch, a lot of bad shit will happen, so he basically takes out one of the oil valves and causes it to hit one of the flames. And as we all know, gasoline plus fire equals kablooey.
And before the whole big kablooey happens, Godzilla has a really cool fight with the female Mutos, before that does like this.
Yeah, does this and just bites into her neck.
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah, and then the male Muto joins in to save his love. And the a 2-on-1 fight on Godzilla, and Godzilla's getting his ass kicked, and he's almost like, stop, get off me!
That was until the explosion happened, decimating the entire nest.
And, after that, the female Muto sees this, and then runs back to see her babies, and then male Muto joins in as well, and Godzilla's like, ugh, finally.
Yeah.
And then when the female Muto sees all her eggs, they're all completely fried, and she's all like, no, my children, I was gonna be a mommy.
And then she turns to Ford because she knows she's the one that killed every single one of them.
It knew what you did. It's like, you're so dead.
And then I remember seeing this part when Dean and I were in the theaters,
along with Camille and John.
Yeah, and several other friends and family. When I saw this blue light, and as it starts glowing, I knew it was happening. So I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
And then Godzilla brings his atomic death, and
I was like, ooh!
Yeah,
just like I just went ape shit.
Yeah, that was beautiful. And
yeah, that's another thing about this movie. When it came out, it was the talk for quite some time.
Yeah. And then the male Muto comes in and attacks Godzilla again, and Godzilla has had enough with this shit, and now let's get to it.
Yeah, when he bashes his tail, when we saw it, people were just cheering. I just had this inner mentality of someone screaming, "Home run!" Yeah, and my trade school one of my trade school instructors, when he saw it, the moment that happened, he was in the theater. He just jumped up and screamed, "Yeah, fuck yeah, the kung fu shit!" And the audience just looked at him and was like, "Sorry."
He whacked him with his tail, and then after that, Godzilla breathed that, but then a building falls on him, and then we have the shot where Ford and Godzilla share a little bonding, which is
somewhat of a bonding, but more like warriors.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Warriors acknowledgement. And as that happens,
the female Muto is attacking all the rest of the soldiers, and she managed to kill them all. And yeah, she's like, "You took away my children, now I'm gonna kill all of you!"
Yeah, she's basically on the killing spree now.
Yeah.
So as that's happening, Ford takes the bomb and pushes it away from the
city, and then
the boat. And as that happens,
the female Muto looks and is like, "You again."
And he takes out his pistol as a means of last stand, but Godzilla comes in, bites her by the neck, and okay, when this happened, I was like, okay, another jaw breaking, alright, so let's see how this... And when he does the kiss of death, I was like, whoa!
Yeah, it was like atomic breath down the throat!
Fire it up!
Beautiful.
Yep, and as that happened...
Godzilla brings out his victory roar, just like in all the other Godzilla movies.
And that move was infamously called the Kiss of Death.
Yeah, that's like my favorite Godzilla kill. And after that, Godzilla lays both...
And collapses.
And so does Ford. And Ford managed to get out of... The soldiers managed to save him and put him in the helicopter, and then the bomb blows up. Not in the city, in the ocean.
Yep.
Thank God.
And so basically, the survivors are rescued. And Sam, Elle, and Ford are reunited. Godzilla's is on his feet, and that's when everyone also cheered, even in the theater.
Yes. Yes, and in the newscast say King the Monster's savior of our city?
And as he roars one last time, he walks back into the ocean and swims away. Yeah, and when I saw this, there's like a 30-second silent pause. I like had my ears muffled because I hate jump scares. And when it just cuts to crash, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that was fun. And when someone was seeing Godzilla leaving, he was like...
Yeah, he just smiles. Oh, man.
And that's what we had to say about Godzilla King of the Monsters. And I would say, I still love this movie for what it is.
I think it holds up pretty well, honestly.
And Godzilla's screen time in this film didn't really bother us that much. Because it's more like building anticipation.
It could have been improved, but nonetheless, it doesn't deteriorate from the movie.
Because we had characters that were actually likable. No one was there to die. Well,
yeah, well, there was Joe Brody.
It's a shame Bryan Cranston's character died that quickly. Kind of like Psycho.
Yeah, and unlike other installments, we didn't see any previews because we saw this at home.
Well, we did have previews back then, but we don't remember them that well.
Yeah, I think there was this natural disaster movie, which it looked like it could have been Rodan, but it wasn't back then. But that's beside the point.
But I did show you this one little trailer on my iPhone, which is this new Ultraman film, and it looks pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. Well,
and I'm also happy we finally got the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong, which we'll get into that soon in the future.
Yeah. Well, what time is that anyway?
It's 11:21, and also, do you think this Godzilla film will be good for newcomers?
I'm not sure about that, but you may want to do this early on. But if you want to see it, as much as I like the first one, I think King of the Monsters would be a good bet, or maybe the 1954 movie, or maybe its American counterpart.
But there'll be a chance for them to see this if they want to.
Yeah, there will be a chance to see this if you wish.
So, and we. Again, we don't think the film is as flawed that most people say it is.
Yeah, so I guess.
I mean, if you guys still don't like the movie, more power to you. Whereas for us,
we still hold it close to our hearts.
Yes, it was a great movie experience we ever had.
And what do you know? Look at that.
And look at the time. I guess no intermission. I guess.
Yeah. So that being said, this is Brock McGinnis
and Dean and
of Lightpost Films,
and we'll see you in the second installment of Monsterverse-A-Thon, where we take a look at Kong Skull Island.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.